Moser, and this is my second year in ACP. So I first wanted to start off just talking about a project that I did last year, which really focused on composition, which is the framing, the color scheme, and the point of focus where your eye is supposed to lead you in the photo. So these are 3 more of those photos from the same project, and it's a little bit dark, but as you can see, I carried over the same grayscale color theme throughout. And I also used highlights and shadows to really lead your eye to specific places in the photo. And I feel that myself using these shadows and highlights really also created a sense of motion in the photos. So these photos are from a project I did this year, but I translated the same themes from the last project into this one. So again, using the highlights and shadows, I created the focus on that first bar on the right. Again, these are from the same project, and on the left you can see that your focus is supposed to be on the shadow of the girl's head and hand, and in the right top photo your focus is supposed to be on the shadows on the pavement. So moving on to a different project, this project I'm still focusing on composition, but instead of just going with black and white, I'm adding color, which adds in a whole new level of detail. So clearly the focus of this photo is in the middle on the automobile, and I focused this through framing, but also through the isolation of the red color, which immediately draws your eye into the center. These 3 photos are from the same project, and they might seem different, but again, I'm still creating the central focus in the middle of the photo. So I really love this photo because I framed it so that you feel like you're sitting right there on this hill looking out onto the lake. I purposefully put the camera lens along with the horizon to make you really feel like you're just sitting right there. And I also let those tree leaves dangle on the top to really give that sense of depth, like you're sitting right at this lake. So this is another project from last year, and I actually used a macro lens to take these photos. And a macro lens is a special lens where you can get really close to something very small and get pristine focus on it. So in this project, basically what I did was play with depth of field. And so in this, you get that sense of intimacy where I get really close to the photo and or to the eye and get that pristine focus. So these are 4 photos from the same project, and as you can tell, I carried out that same sense of depth in all of them. So this is from a different project from this year, and although I didn't use a macro lens, I still kept the same sense of depth technique, which I really love to work with. And in the 2 photos on the left, they're actually very similar, the difference being that the one on the bottom has a light bulb and the one on the top has just a hanging ornament, but I still use that singular thing in focus in the rest in the background to put a really big emphasis on the thing in the foreground. In the photo on the right, there is just more in the foreground, but I'm using the same technique of the 2-dimensional technique to keep those cacti in focus and put the emphasis on them while the background is blurred. So this photo is one of my favorites because instead of just having 2-dimensional technique, I played into multiple dimensions. And so you can see in the foreground, those little hanging ornaments are completely blurred and the background is really blurred. But in the center, I played with different levels of blur to create a better sense of depth than just the other 2-dimensional photos. And this photo is just going back to that one singular focus on a lamp, and that just puts a really clear focus right there. And so this year I actually started getting back a little bit into ceramics, even though photography is my main focus. And this is a work in progress, so it hasn't been fired or glazed. But so with pottery, you have to think about composition just the same as you have to think about in photography. So I really tried to make this project visually appealing with the smoothness and the bumps. And I also tried to make it the same visual appeal on the inside as the outside. And I have a little video of it so you can see the inside, if it will play.
Do it. If it like doesn't work out, then I guess it's plan B, right? Try it.
And that's all. Thank you guys.